Right, now that our target is officially Mother Brain, let's see just how long it takes for us to reach her. Granted, I'm using fast forward for a good amount of time, so the clock at the bottom of the clip combined with the timer for all the other clips is probably not gonna match up to my actual playtime. Still, I think I can comfortably say that we won't be able to reach her until the next clip at the absolute soonest. At least we haven't explored this area yet. Doubt we're gonna gain anything especially amazing in here, but I'm more than willing to be proved wrong. Kind of surprised we were allowed to make that jump. If anything, I was expecting us to be stopped on the way up and then dropped right into the lava below. Has certainly been our luck so far, at the very least. Speak of a lava bath, and it shall occur. Just what kind of paint does the Vieira suit have that doesn't peel off when we take that kind of heat? All the paints I tend to use start to crack when it gets around 90 degrees. And we are far above 90 over here. Okay. Not sure why I thought jumping onto the arm of a broken statue would do us any good. Also a little baffled that this is the only statue in the game we've come across that's been destroyed like that. The local wildlife isn't exactly gentle, and it's not like the pirates would be all that concerned about preserving archaeological finds like this. Not that we've seen any pirates aside from Ridley and Kraid so far. Everyone seems content to just wait with Mother Brain, and while I'm at it, is there a reason that the supposed leader of the space pirates has the lamest name of the batch? Sure, Ridley and Kraid aren't the most menacing names you'd hear on the street, but at least they sound like actual names. But for the leader, they apparently went with, oh, it's a brain in a jar, just call it Mother Brain, so people can call it a she, and we can move on to the next monster. Seriously, the name just sounds kinda out of place, especially with all the other names we see in this game and all the later ones. Okay, just need to make sure we actually make some upward progress instead of accidentally blocking our way when we freeze these things. Looks like we need the screw attack to get in from that angle. I think this might be the only game in the series where we take down Ridley before we get the screw attack. And actually I kind of appreciate the fact that the moment I start feeling we need to make progress, we immediately get the upgrade that would let us get through the next barrier. Unlike the speed boost, I've always been a fan of the screw attack, even if I've yet to run into a boss in any of the 2D games that had an explicit weakness for the thing. Doesn't hurt that a video game website took the name and had plenty of years of great stuff pumped out in order to make me really just like hearing the name Screw Attack. Sure, technically that website still exists after it got bought, but a lot of the old names left the Screw Attack banner, and with the exception of Death Battle and the Angry Video Game Nerd, a lot of the stuff that used to be part of the site just stopped feeling especially interesting to me. Much like Rooster Teeth, I still find myself occasionally going to watch some of the old stuff, and still enjoying that old stuff as much as I used to, but at different points. The various video series just shifted in directions that just didn't click for me anymore. Always a little paranoid when we have to land on blocks to avoid diving into lava after we gain the screw attack. I've forgotten what specific game it was, but there's at least one area that I vividly remember, where I end up screw attacking what I'm trying to climb, and the blocks keep just getting destroyed. And it just makes things so annoying, especially since I distinctly remember being able to get through that same area with ease before we got that particular upgrade. Still, it's fun to be able to just burst through a number of common enemies, especially ones that were essentially invulnerable to everything else we threw at them, and were at best just things for us to freeze and then use as platforms. Add in the fact that when you get your timing right, you can go higher than even the high jump lets you go, just from going steadily higher and higher up with each fresh screw attack you do in midair. It can more than make up for the sudden inability to keep using the freeze ray platform trick anymore. Yeah, definitely no way that something with a jet on its back is going to be moving around in lava. Now that bit of awesome is kind of cancelled out by the fact that the timing for the extra leaps in height seems to change with each game. Given how infrequently I play games like this, I'd be very willing to accept the idea that I'm an idiot who's misremembering things, and possibly it doesn't have different timing and I just forget how to do it each and every time, but I'm going with what I feel. Right, back to fast forwarding since we're going through familiar territory again. Oh, I have no idea how we're supposed to manage a boosted jump through this wall. Yeah. Someone who has a much firmer grasp of the boost could probably tell me why anyone would bother with that path, when there's a simpler, if slower one, just beneath it. Part of me wants to appreciate the fact that there's occasionally multiple paths through the same hallway. The other kind of wishes that there were more to look at as we travel through some of the same areas over and over again, just to reach the next fresh area. And I damn well know that is an unfair thing to say, because holy shit, not only is this game pretty old, it was made for a handheld console, and it seriously outperforms just about every Game Boy Advance game out there. Seriously. Think of all the games made for the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance. Think of the top 10 for both of those handheld systems. Then, think about how few of those games in the top 10 were not made by Nintendo. Seriously. I don't think Sega at its most successful could do the same amount of work as Nintendo to give their own system amazing titles. Bloody hell, that was more annoying to jump up than I was expecting. Oh god, this is certainly an area where the screw attack screws me over. Because while this isn't the familiar ground I was thinking of, it's just not pleasant that when your upgrade just hurts you like this. Granted, we're more than durable enough that we can get to the other side without needing a fresh energy tank, but still, not a pleasant stroll. But then I suppose Samus didn't come to this planet for a relaxing stroll through memory lane. Oh, you've gotta be kidding me. have no clue what blowing up the ceiling section of blocks does for us. All I know is that it's probably a good idea for us to move on from here. We're not gonna make it to that upgrade with my skills and equipment, that's for sure. Right. The way to Brimstar is directly above our current position. And why is it I keep pronouncing it as Brimstar when the spelling has an in sound, not an im? It's not a major thing, but I still find it kind of amusing on my part. And it felt more worth calling attention to than the fact that I'm pretty much jogging through the lava so casually. I wonder, has Samus ever done any of the kind of running or walking on hot coals thing? Granted, firewalking is a good deal safer than going straight through a pool of goddamn lava, unless someone severely screws up the setup portion of it. Seriously, there are actually some science articles about firewalking and why, when it's done properly, there's little to no chance of people actually getting hurt, despite how ancient the ritual is. Actually made me wish my company decided to do that instead of having us do a zipline-related thing. As a former fan of pro wrestling, all I could think when they did that and when they were explaining to us how safe the zip lines were was, rest in peace, Owen Hart. But enough about me personally avoiding hyperventilating in one of those rather ridiculous team-building exercises that, as far as I can tell, people rarely actually get closer together afterwards from. My original train of thought was going to be about how I wonder just how uncomfortable running through lava actually is to Samus when she's inside that power arm. I mean, sure, as far as I can tell, at the end of the game, it never looks like she's been burnt or bruised after the sheer amount of crap she has to deal with over the course of any of the extended missions in any of the games. But I'm sure it's pretty uncomfortable in there anytime the suit takes damage. Not that we ever see anything that really gives us a solid idea on how the suit actually works, how Samus can summon it at will, and why it completely disappears when she dies in at least this game. Add in the fact that in the Metroid Prime games, I never see it disappear on us when we get killed, and how much I don't like the storytelling in Metroid Other M, where they try to explain at least partially how the suit works, and we don't really have much to go on. Right, not gonna be able to boost through the wall on the left. At least not from this side. Well, I was kinda hoping we could explore a bit more of Crateria before we get to the main space pirate base on the planet. Still, at least I didn't spend an absurd amount of time trying to find a way through a barrier that we don't actually have to. Yeah. And we aren't that far from a Brimstar from here, so there's that as well. Oh dear. Well, that was predictable. And unfortunately, I don't remember if being able to selectively disable power-ups was a purely Super Metroid mechanic, or if it's one of the things that the Game Boy Advance games took from that one. At the very least, they borrowed the appearance and scale of Kraid from that game, among various mechanical adjustments and adding the map button, which I once again very much appreciate. And of course, many of the other visual design choices that Super Metroid codified. It's actually rather funny just how many changes they made to the franchise in that one game that they've stuck with ever since. About as funny as the fact that Super Metroid is going to be the 4th game on my list for this series to do, when it is the single oldest title of any of the games we are going to be going through in this series. But I suppose that's what happens when you try to do things in chronological order, but don't want to actually touch the original 2 games, since they didn't actually have enough of what drew you in the first place. kind of get why the statues waited for us to arrive to dramatically open their mouths like that, but why did their eyes have to shut as well? Oh shit. The things this franchise is named after. Granted, we have everything we need in order to deal with the Metroids in here, but it's still not going to be a pleasant experience. It's actually kind of funny how small of a role the Metroids have in Metroid Zero Mission, especially considering just how absolutely critical to the plot they're going to be in every other game, and how they outright named the damn franchise. And yes, I did just get cold feet when I saw the first unnamed space pirate in the game, and he's been drained dry. In my first playthrough of the game, I wondered how the things broke the containment the space pirates must have had for them, when we hadn't even managed to do any damage to their actual base yet. These days, I think that Mother Brain purposely broke containment, because she figured that the unnamed grunts would have no chance to stop Samus, and Metroids running loose would be less destructive than Samus having absolute free reign on the ship after she managed to kill Ridley and Kraid. These things are certainly big, but there's only one way to kill them here. Freeze them, then fire a hell of a lot of missiles. And if they latch onto you, the only way to get them off is to go into Morph Ball mode and bomb them all. Oh dear God, even when I see them coming in the background, I don't react that fast, since they are literally the only thing in this game that comes from the background like that. Fuck. I've gotten myself stuck in a sucking loop. They might not have had all that much screen time in this game, but they certainly did their job, and they did it well. Now, take a moment to realize that Metroid 2, we go to a planet to exterminate all the Metroids on it. Then realize we're going to be doing 2 different remakes of the same base Game Boy game, and we're going to get very familiar with Metroids by the time we get to Super Metroid. Granted, the Metroid Prime games take place between Metroid 1 and 2, and we won't be doing those games until we're done with the 2D ones, so we're not entirely doing things in chronological order, and given how much longer the 3D games are compared to the 2D ones, I just couldn't find it in me to shove the Prime games between the 2D titles, especially since some of the weaknesses that some of the more important enemies have in the 2D games don't fully translate to the 3D ones. Just like some of the power-ups we get in the 2D games don't work the same way when you add the third dimension to the equation. Okay, it's apparently pretty inconsistent when we get various healing items from the various circles that float right at us. Well, everything seems pretty eager to give us fresh missiles, so I suppose that's something. Finally, a healing item. We still have a tank and a half left to fill, but still. Hold on. Need to fast forward since we're not healing as fast as I'd hoped. You'd think, since there are so many of these things that launch balls at us, that they'd be more likely to drop various items. But then those little energy circles are going to be Mother Brain's, well, one of Mother Brain's means of attacking us. At least until we break the glass surrounding her. So I suppose it makes sense that those projectiles aren't going to be especially generous when they're a major part of what the final boss fight in the original game had to throw. I know, a bit spoilery to say that Mother Brain isn't going to be the final challenge in this game, but still, the storytelling here isn't exactly trying all that hard to Drossa's in that sense. Hell, Mother Brain and Kraid have at least one more appearance left in them, just to get to Super Metroid, the game that basically defined the 2D part of the franchise to the point that Nintendo decided to make Zero Mission and Fusion as close to that as possible. Well, at least I didn't get caught completely off guard by that Metroid coming from the background. Nice to know that I'm learning, even if I'm getting sucked pretty hard by these damn things. And since the silver door is flashing, that means we're able to move on to the next room since we're done with all the Metroids in here. Just think about how much trouble we're having against these things. Then think about the fact that we're dealing with essentially babies. That's right, they can get bigger, stronger, and far more annoying to kill. But the first stage Metroid forms are still so damn dangerous that they end up classified as a major threat, especially when the space pirates get it into their heads to try actively turning the things into weapons, or somehow into energy sources. Kind of amazed I managed to do so well when there are two at once, especially with how much damage a single Metroid can do if it's stubborn enough and we end up in a sucking loop. Yeah, that's kind of what I was expecting from the previous pair to try eating us in here. Thankfully, there aren't too many left in this pirate base. Okay, so that one's smart enough to not come after us when it's completely off screen. It wasn't bad enough that they're very durable and aggressive, they also have to occasionally be smart. Granted, that's not enough to make me feel it's hyper-intelligent or anything. I'm just bemoaning the fact that that one felt more intelligent than me to a degree. I'm going to have to assume that room to the right is a save room. Oh, thank you. I could use a bit of a break right now.